Welcome to Made in Moray, the podcast that focuses on the successes and struggles of local businesses. Let's get started.
My name's G, I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Caroline Dunbar, who is a partner in Duffus Estate. And I have a little bit of a problem because I really don't know how to describe Duffus Estate. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, hello. So basically, Duffus Estate is my husband's family's kind of historic family home, I guess.
Okay.
They basically bought it in, I don't know, the late 1600s, I think.
Oh my God.
And there's been Dunbars at Duffus ever since, basically.
Wow.
So it's literally just gone down sort of through the generations. So they used to live in Duffus House.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1930s, my husband's granddad decided to downsize.
Mm-hmm.
So he moved out of Duffus House into the house where we now live.
Okay.
And he rented it out to Duffus House, out to Gordonston. Well, he knew Kurt Hahn, the German educator who was coming over from Germany and was looking for a place to set up a school.
Mm-hmm. And Gordonston is a pretty famous private school.
Yeah. So essentially, it was before Gordonston became the entity that is Gordonston now. Yeah. They rented Duffus House. Second World War came along. They shifted down to Wales. The army took over the building. After the Second World War, the school came back, and during that time, they'd been gifted Gordonston, which is next door to us. So they moved there. They always kept on Duffus House as a boarding house. So basically, they rented that out for over 80 years.
And the students from the school lived in the house?
Yes. Yeah, so there's one of many boarding houses, but so that kind of is that part of it. Essentially, the rest of it is a sort of traditional rural agricultural estate. There's 3 tenant farms, one farm which is in hand that we contract out. And then there is a selection of properties, some sort of just normally rented out as residential lets. And then we have a selection of holiday cottages as well. And we're also about to launch a new eco cabin at Duffus Castle as well. So that's a new venture that we're just about to launch.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing. Well, let's start. Let's dive in and start with the eco house. What's that?
So basically, that if anybody goes to Duffus Castle and then looks to the north, you'll see a farmhouse just set back from the car park. So that's the first holiday let that we started 11 years ago. And then beside that,
is that as you drive up to the castle? It's on the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then beside that, you'll see essentially what looks like. It's a cabin. It's an eco cabin. It's all sort of clad in wood. But essentially, this paddock beside the farmhouse has just been sat empty and not doing anything. Right. And so we thought, we need to take more advantage of the fact that it's got these amazing views of the castle. And also, it's something a wee bit different compared to the normal holiday lets that we've got, which is sort of more traditional buildings. And also, we kind of wanted to look at something more sustainable and more in line sort of with everything that's going on at the moment. So we've got solar panels and it's all highly insulated. But yeah, it's just something a wee bit different and really exciting.
And people can come and stay there?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's really nice. And this is next to the castle. So there's a castle on the estate. So how does the castle fit into the whole picture?
Well, my husband and I didn't really realise it was actually still part of the estate because it's managed and looked after by Historic Scotland, or Historic Environment Scotland as it's now known. And it was only when my father-in-law passed away and everything had to get valued that we actually realised that it is still forms part of the estate, although we don't have any responsibility for it.
Wow. How does that work? They manage and maintain it? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it was done decades ago. My husband's grandfather handed over responsibility, I think. I don't really know all the legal ins and outs of it all. But yeah, essentially Historic Scotland deal with that. But so yeah, it's kind of quite cool saying. Yep. But it's a weird one because I can never really say it's ours, but it forms part of the estate.
Now, the castle is pretty much a ruin
Yes.
now. Right. Obviously, you couldn't stay in it, or you could camp, I suppose. Yeah. So, do we know what happened and why the castle became a ruin?
This is my take on it. I think I'm
sure.
basically right here in that the Sutherland family were the last people to live in the castle. When it started subsiding and
falling over.
Yes, essentially, as you can see.
I've seen one of the walls is leaning to the side.
They then decided to obviously build a new residence, so they used stone from Duffus Castle to build Duffus House.
Oh, wow.
And then I think this is right in that they then ran out of cash by doing that, and then got into some financial difficulties, and then that's when the Dunbars then bought Duffus Estate, because they've been all around Moray, so they were kicking around in Elgin and all over the place.
So the story with the castle is the castle began to fall over?
Yeah, basically I don't think there's any foundations
under it.
Yeah, so
classic mistake.
Yeah. But it makes for great photo opportunities now.
Oh, it does. It's dramatic.
Yeah.
It's very dramatic. And it's on its own little hill as well.
Yeah, and the light at sunset and sunrise is stunning. Absolutely stunning. So
yeah, you get some nice photo shoots up there. Also nice to rent one of the cottages next to the castle as well.
Well, that's what started the whole Hold Let business off, was with the farmhouse. It had just been let out normally. And the last lot of tenants, which was back about 12 years ago, when they left, the property hadn't been left in a great nick, basically. Yeah. And my in-laws they just couldn't face another renovation, and they were wanting to sell it. And at the time, my husband and I were down living in East Lothian, and we were just like, oh my goodness, you cannot sell that house with that view. Like, it's such an asset. And so we persuaded them. Luckily, they ended up being persuaded, but it took some persuasion to allow us to start trying to do it as a hold let, which had its own challenges, given that we were down in East Lothian. But obviously it worked. Yeah,
and can people stay in it for a longer period of time, or how does it work?
So this is just purely hold lets.
Okay.
So we have a minimum stay of 3 nights. Obviously, the more nights, the better. Yep. But we kind of have to be quite flexible, because we have a lot of parents that stay that are visiting people in Gordonston.
Naturally.
So they only really want to take it for 2 or 3 nights.
Yep.
So I probably have to be more flexible than I would necessarily like to be with it. But yeah, no, anybody can come and book a stay.
And there's a number of farms connected to the property as well.
So there's four farms on the estate.
Right.
So there's Old Duffus Farm, and there's Rot Hills and the Baygrow and Unthank as well. So
and there's agricultural work going on the farms.
There's a mix, some livestock and some crops. Obviously lots of barley.
Yep.
But my husband generally deals with all the sort of farming side of it, so I'm not going to say that I know tons about the farming side of things.
Oh, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
For 2 people. You got the farms, you got the cottages, you've got probably the land, other elements of land management. I imagine that there's sort of tourist paths and things.
Yeah. I mean, when we moved up, so we moved up January 2013, and there was a few sort of paths and things, but at that point, because Duffus House had been rented to the school for over 80 years, there were signs up everywhere saying Gordonston, keep out.
Yeah.
And so not a lot of local people realised that actually it was privately owned. And then when the school did actually vacate the building about 2.5 years ago, suddenly the signs came down and we were able to say, hey, we're here, there's woodland, come and visit, come and walk. Yeah. So we've been putting in a few paths over the years, just to try and link up existing paths and things, which you see the local dog walkers and people now kind of taking advantage. So that's really good.
Yeah, it's nice to let people have access.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
So how did you get involved in the estate management in the first place? How did it all begin? So
this has come gradually. So I met my husband. We were both working for Majestic Wine in Perth at the time. And I didn't know anything about the fact that he came from some estate up north. So it was all quite amusing, really, when I found out.
He was just another guy.
It's not your usual thing that you find out when you meet somebody. But
well, maybe he wanted to keep it kind of quiet.
Well, yeah, I mean, he doesn't shout about it. I think probably a lot of the time he just kind of wanted to ignore it and just wanted to be normal, whatever normal is.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but anyway, we were working together. We ended up getting together, getting married. At some point, we always kind of knew at the back of our heads that we would have to move up to Moray at some point, but it was always quite easy to kind of ignore it and put it to the back of our minds. We were living in Edinburgh and then out in East Lothian, happy. I'd had the kids. I started my own pet sitting business. Life was going well. But as time ticked over, his dad was getting more and more poorly. Yeah. And then when the school said they were vacating Duffus house, we kind of knew, okay, the stars are aligning. Yeah. We kind of need to get ourselves up there. So for me, it was quite a painful move up. I think because it was a forced move rather than... I'm kind of quite an emotional person and I lead with my heart. And because it was something that was forced rather than coming from my own heart, I was quite negative about the move. Yeah. But now I would never go back.
Well, it's interesting how much we fear some changes, but they turn out to be good for us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, up until that point, I'd always said, I'm fine with change. I can cope with change. Yeah. And then actually, when I did suddenly have to do this big sort of life change, I really struggled.
What was it like for the kids?
They're quite small when we moved. So Sam he wasn't even 2 yet. And Isla was 1.5 years. No, 3.5. She struggled a tiny bit, but yeah, nothing too major. And Sam didn't really notice. So yeah, they were fine, really.
Yeah, kids adapt very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, she knew what to say to pull on my heartstrings a little bit, but after a few months, it was absolutely fine.
And I imagine they've got quite a bit of space there as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, what frustrates me is actually I don't think they make the most of the space that's there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It really frustrates me because I grew up in rural Yorkshire in a little village, and we're always charging around the countryside on our bikes and climbing trees and just being feral. And I don't know what it is about my kids because we're there saying, go out, go and explore. And if they have their friends over, then they're probably more likely to go off, but I don't know, they don't go out as much as...
Well, you don't appreciate things sometimes when they're really close to home.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I do them a disservice, I don't know.
How old are they now?
So Isla's 10.5 and Sam will be 9 shortly.
Yeah. There's a lot of time there, and who knows what will be in the future.
Yeah.
I have to send my kids over, actually.
Yeah. Come and explore.
Right, I have to. There's so many great things in the local environment, in the community, that I'm always realizing and thinking, I have to do that, and I have to do that, and I have to do that as well. I need to stop procrastination and start action and get out there. What are typical tasks that you have to do on a daily basis in your work?
Now, every day is definitely different. So there's no 2 days the same, really. For instance, this morning, I woke up and immediately I got an email through from one of the cottages saying the TV was broken. Oh, no. And it's just like it's just a frustration. So, but that's what comes of renting houses. Yep. So it was sorting that out. But generally, I try in the morning to deal with any bookings that have come in overnight, just to keep all the availability calendars up to date. Yep. That's the most important thing, just to avoid double bookings and all that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I generally, if I was kind of giving you what could be a typical day, is paperwork, problem solving, dealing with any issues. And then I'm in the process. I'm always in the process of a project, whatever. So now I'm kind of looking to get a new website done. So I've made a decision actually just this week of who I'm going to. So it's kind of my head's now all kind of on websites and photographers and that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. We have to keep things up to date. Did you always think that you might end up doing something like this?
No.
No. Okay.
I would never have imagined I'd end up
How do you orientate to starting when you suddenly have to manage land or manage property and you don't have a history of it? You have experiences, but
I suppose you learn as you go on. I don't know. If you look at my life overall, there's a lot of common themes of hospitality and customer service and dealing with people. And I think I am quite a people person. So there's kind of broad, and the kind of jobs that I've had have all, kind of built up to kind of what I do now. So although I haven't had, direct experience to what I'm doing now, it's all kind of, come together.
What little skills you pick up along the way.
Yeah. And then I suppose it's just been experience, because we started with the 1 holiday let. We've now got the 5.
Wow. It's quite a jump from 1 to 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's been gradual over 11 years. So we started with 1, and then the next year we had the 2nd. And then it wasn't until we moved up that we had the 3rd. And then a couple of years ago, we bought a wee flat in Lossie, which just is something a wee bit different.
Yeah.
And then with the eco cabin. So I'm kind of always looking to move forward. What's the next thing? What can we do? How to be different, because the market is saturated with holiday lets. So it's just trying to do that something a wee bit different.
Are there different times that are peak times of the year for letting?
It used to be, when we first started, it used to be very seasonal. But actually, as time's gone on, it's not so seasonal. We kind of tick over throughout the winter season as well. I mean, it goes a wee bit quieter. I don't know whether that's because we've been established for so long that we've got, we have an awful lot of repeat bookings, which is great. And also just that the area is, which I know anyway, the area is increasing for tourism anyway. So yeah.
You sound like a person who pays attention to details. So what is it about the lets that make them different or special for the guests that come?
Each one of them is different. They've each got their own character. They're all unique. It's family run. It's not run by a big company. Yeah. It's myself, and I've got, I say cleaner, but she's so much more than a cleaner. It's,
I can understand.
Sort of Gemma that kind of helps me with them. And it's funny, when we started them off, you can't afford to kind of, or certainly we couldn't afford to get them all up to a really high standard immediately. So it has been a real work in progress over the years to kind of keep investing, keep redecorating, keep updating the kitchens and the bathrooms. Yep. But it's a labour of love, and I invest my heart and soul into them. I think that's what, that shows through, I think, hopefully, that it really means something that I get them to the best they possibly can be.
I've been following some of the work on Instagram where you post like the updated pictures, and the places look really nice. Did I read correctly that people can bring their pets as well when they come and stay there? So
for the 3 original cottages, yes, you can. I mean, we've got dogs in the family, and don't necessarily need them with us all the time on holiday, but it's I think people do appreciate bringing, if you're a doggy family, then you want to bring your pets with you. The wee flat in Lossie was the first one that I said no pets to, and that's purely because it's a first floor flat, and I felt that I didn't want the lady that lives underneath. It's her home, and she doesn't need to hear sort of dogs barking or whatever. So I said no to that, and actually that gave me the confidence with the eco cabin. Actually, at the moment, I'm saying no pets there. I've had a bit of a wobble with that because I've had existing customers from the other cottages, and I'm just like, but it's so lovely and so pristine. I kind of want to try and keep it that way for as long as I can.
No, I completely understand that.
And also, there's a market for people that have allergies and things as well. So, to say that it is completely pet free, there's it's another market. So,
well, it's nice to hear that there's a variety of options there. Definitely. How hard is it to sell the services and the cottages to people? Or is there a good place to market that?
I suppose in terms of with websites, like I say, I'm now about to do a new website. I think you need to keep on top of. I mean, I'm not techie at all, but you see what websites are out there, and things do get outdated, sort of reasonably quickly. And one thing that we don't have, which I've known for a long time we need to have, is our own kind of online booking system, because I do advertise on several other sort of platforms out there. But obviously they have their own booking fees, and so you find I pay booking fees, the guest pays booking fees, and so I'm just like, we need to get rid of all of that and get our own sort of booking system.
Is there one major national portal where everybody puts their data, or how does it work? Because I don't know.
I suppose, you get the biggies like Airbnb, which I've actually only gone on to about 18 months ago. It's worked really well for the smaller properties. The larger one, not so much. I've had a few bookings, but it has actually worked well for the smaller ones.
Right.
And then you get the behemoth of TripAdvisor, which love it or hate it, it's there. And the majority of the time, I do get really, really good reviews, which is great. You get the odd, maybe not so good one. And, I always take it so personally when you get a bad one. And like I say, it happens very rarely, but when it does, it does make you stop and think, and it's like, well, do they have a point? Do they not have a point? And it's there for a reason, but sometimes it can be a bitter pill to swallow, and you just like, oh, yeah.
So how do you handle a negative review if somebody writes one? Because everybody in business has experienced some resistance or negativity.
Well, I've learned to go away for 24 hours and stew on it.
breathe, just keep breathing.
Yeah. It's just forming that reply, and it's hard because I suppose it's depends whether you feel they've got a point or not. And if they do have a point, then you take that on board and you apologize and you acknowledge it, and you then try and do something about it. If you don't feel they've got a point, it's like, how do you politely, frame your reply that you're acknowledging what they're saying, but you're also saying your side of the story as well. You just deal with it. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often, but
it's something that has to be acknowledged.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Sure. And sometimes people do. Sometimes they do have a point.
Well, everybody's different, and you can't prepare everything exactly the way that everybody is going on.
And that's one thing that you try to cover all bases of holiday lets, but there's always something that people think you should have done this, but it's like, come on.
The curtains are too long, or I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, people do say, because my mind's gone blank now, but I have had the most random things that people say. But it certainly opens your eyes to how people live.
Yeah, it's interesting. What's the nicest thing that somebody has said about the cottages?
Of course, my mind's gone blank now as well. But you do get lovely comments and cards. People leave cards and wine and chocolates afterwards, and
that's nice. Is there a little guest book that people sign?
There's guest book and things. But I think if they pay attention to the little things that I've done, like I'll leave. Like a couple of days ago, I got some just some daffodils and snowdrops out of the garden and just pop them in vases around the place, and little just little things like that. And you have the fire laid for them, so all they need to do is just strike a match when they get in, and just little things like that. And if people notice that, and I had a couple of reviews after Christmas in one of them where they had really noticed all the little things that I'd done, and that is just like, that makes me feel good that it's been noticed and appreciated.
Sounds really nice. The extra effort that people make is always worthwhile when you find a client or customer that realizes what you've done.
Yeah. For
sure. How do you define success within the organization of the work that you do?
I mean, obviously, you have your monetary success, but which is obviously important because it's your bread and butter and that's why you do it. Yep. But for me, it's when you get those lovely comments and the lovely reviews, and that just makes me feel good. It's like people have appreciated what you've done.
It's nice. And feedback matters.
It does, yeah.
In those situations. What's the structure of your working day? Is it fixed? Is it flexible?
Very flexible.
Okay.
I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes I would actually just love to have a 9 to 5 and then turn my computer off and my phone off at 5 o'clock and not be available. But unfortunately, just doing what we do. It's great in that it is flexible. So I'm around a lot for the kids. I can go to assemblies, I can go to nativities, and all of that kind of thing. But, I can be answering phone calls or emails, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm around all weekend and people will be calling or emailing. And, in this day and age, they expect an immediate response. And if they've contacted 2 or 3 holiday lets, you need to be the first person to get back. Yeah. When we first started, it was kind of, you get back within sort of 24 hours or something. And then I remember Holiday Lettings, which has now become part of TripAdvisor, kind of putting a sort of 6-hour time limit on it. And your percentage of how you were ranked in the listings went down if you were replying after 6 hours. And when that came in a few years ago, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. But now I get so stressed if I can't reply immediately. So unfortunately, I always have my phone with me. As soon as something comes in, I get this panicky feeling because I need to respond immediately. And it does take its toll. I get really sick of it sometimes, and I just want to be able to have a break.
So how do you do that? How do you have a break? After saying you've got so much work.
2 things. I suppose the big thing is coastal rowing. A lot of coastal rowing with the Birkhead Rowing Club. And then just more recently is wild swimming, freshwater swimming in the sea. Wow.
From where I live, I sometimes see a little boat going up and down outside the harbour. Is that in some way connected to...
It's a different club, but exactly the same boat. So essentially, it's a St Ailes skiff. And
whoa, that's right over my head. Whoa, what's that?
So it's actually the Scottish Coastal Rowing Project is about to celebrate its 10-year anniversary this year. So it was project started down in Anstruther at the Fisheries Museum, and they wanted to design a boat that communities could come together and build. So you needed somebody with a little bit of woodworking experience, but you didn't have to be a boat builder. And they wanted to kind of recreate sort of regattas that have been done in the sort of mining communities in the East Nuka Fife, sort of back in the early 1900s. So they got...
You have to go more slowly for me. I'm lost. Mining communities, the what? Where?
So, Fife, East Nuka Fife.
Okay.
So you got Anstruther and Pittenweem and Ely and these little tiny...
I'm just pretending I know these places.
It's tiny little fishing communities basically in Fife.
Like Lossiemouth used to be.
Yeah. Just down in Fife. And there's a museum, there's a National Fisheries Museum there.
Right.
And there was a community project 10 years ago where they wanted to design a boat that they felt was easy enough for communities to build themselves. They did that. They got an international boat builder that actually lives on Skye, E020, to come on board, and he helped design what is now known as St Ailes skiff.
Right.
It then basically proved really popular and started spreading across the Firth of Forth and all these little coastal communities. So at the time I was living in Cockenzie and Port Seton, which is on the other side of the Firth of Forth in East Lothian. And one of the old fishermen was on the board of the Fisheries Museum across the water in Anstruther. So he saw what was going on and thought, oh, we could do that in our community. So essentially, these boats are kind of, you can buy them as kits, so marine ply kits. So they come and it's just a load of kind of rectangular bits of plywood, essentially. You have essentially a set of instructions.
Can you... I got to profess complete ignorance here. Can you build a boat from just rectangular pieces?
There's bits you cut out. It's there's bits that you can see that you cut out. I'm making it sound quite simple. It was quite hard.
It's a little bit harder than Lego.
Yes, a little bit harder than Lego, but
cause I'm cool with Lego.
I'm starting to go off on a tangent, but yeah, basically, the Scottish Coastal Rowing Association formed as a result of these communities throughout the Firth of Forth deciding, oh, this is actually really cool. We can get communities together, we can fundraise, we can build boats, and they started having their own regatta. So I at the time was living in one of these communities, saw what was going on and thought, oh, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So started rowing with them. Fast forward 10 years and there's now over 200 clubs around Scotland, 200 boats. It's gone international. They've had 2 world championships.
Of rowing these boats
Yes,
that people
these
have made themselves.
So each boat has been funded and built by their own community. So it means communities, it's a way for coastal communities that have lost contact with the sea, with the decline of fishing and things, to actually reconnect back with their heritage and to keep these skills alive as well. It's really emotive, and due to its success, it's just proven how great it is, and
how connected people actually want to be.
Yeah. And also, pretty much, it connects people of all ages, and you don't have to be uber fit to get rowing. So yeah, you can have people of various decades all in a boat, all different backgrounds, and yeah, it just brings people together. It's
How many
amazing.
people can be in one boat at a time rowing?
So you have 5 people. So there's 4 people rowing, and then a cox who steers the boat and is in charge of.
Okay,
the boat.
and is he like saying pull? So
Yeah, might be.
Do you get in time or something like that?
Yeah,
seen those things on TV,
It depends whether you're out for a gentle row or a proper training session.
Right. Did I see on the news recently that somebody or some people rowed across the Atlantic?
Yeah, there was. Now this is a different type of boat, but but yeah, there was. I think 3 brothers from Edinburgh that smashed the record for rowing across.
That's mental, right? Well, people obviously won't be doing that much rowing, but it sounds like a nice way to get out and connect.
Yeah, no, totally. So basically, as I was saying previously, when I was down in East Lothian, and then when I moved up here, the closest club at that point, back in 2013, was in Port Soy.
Yep.
So I went out with them a few times, but obviously that wasn't sort of doable in the long term to keep rowing with them. So that's when I decided that I needed to stop moaning and actually do something about it, and set about forming Birkhead Coastal Rowing Club.
So you started your own rowing club?
Yes.
Right. Did you have a boat, or how did you?
No.
do that?
It was me on my clod.
Wow.
I had a lot of support from my old club and from other existing clubs. But essentially, I just put an article in the Northern Scot and the P&J, and basically explained a wee bit about the history of the project, and then said, does anybody want to come and build a boat and join the club?
And people did?
They did.
Wow.
I can't get my head around it now, but but the fact that I actually did this. But yeah, basically we called an open meeting in a pub in Birkhead, and I turned up, and I was absolutely petrified that nobody would turn up, and actually got a room full of folk. And there was myself, and then a couple of folk from the Port Soy Club had come along as well. And by the end of that meeting, there was enough people interested to basically form a committee. And then from there, we kind of formed a club, got a constitution, got a bank account, started fundraising, applying for grants, and within probably about 4 months, we'd raised enough to buy the boat kit.
Wow. How did you raise the money? Did you do anything special?
So the boat kit at the time was about £1,500, I think. So they're designed to be affordable so that communities...
that sounds like an affordable...
Yeah. So, it's a lot of money, but if communities come together and it's specifically designed to be affordable. We did quiz nights and coffee mornings, and I think we did a sponsored walk and sort of various things. And then you do also have to raise money for there's extra timber that you need for other bits of the boat and things, and you need to get a trailer. And alongside that, we also then applied for some European funding to get a boat shed as well, which was another epic challenge to sort that out. But we did it.
Can you get European funding for a boat shed?
Well, it was part of the acronym was FLAG funding, and it was specific funding for coastal areas that had seen a decline in fishing and things, and sort of regenerating sort of coastal areas, basically. So it was part European funding and part sort of Scottish government funding. So you had to match fund it. So we applied for it and got it, and then we also had to match fund as well. But yeah, I think if we'd known how much time and paperwork that went into that, I don't know whether but we were quite naive. Went, yeah, we'll do that.
Sure.
But we did it, and we've got a boat shed, and we built the boat in my garage at the time. And yeah, I mean, the boat's been on the water now for about 5.5 years. So yeah,
Fantastic.
It's all worth it.
Fantastic. And that's all because you just asked a question. Is anybody interested?
Yeah. It was one of the proudest things that I've ever done. But it just taught me that actually, if you really want to do something, that you just have to do it. It doesn't matter what people think. If you truly believe that you can do something and you believe in what you're doing, then nothing can stop you.
Did you have some people who thought that maybe you were a bit crazy to want to do this?
Oh God, yeah. Well, because there weren't any other. Now there's tons of clubs, because there's a club in Lossiemouth and a club in Findhorn and Nairn, and they're up and down the coast in Cullen and Finecty. But at that point, there wasn't any other clubs. It was just me kind of talking to anybody would listen to say, hey, do you want to come and build a boat and join a club? So I'm sure people thought, and I know a lot of the local fishermen and stuff thought that I was completely mad. I was some random English female charging around their harbour. But yeah, I think they've just learned to deal with us now.
I think it also sometimes takes an injection of new blood into things. People who've been living in the same place for a long period of time, sometimes that environment becomes a little bit stagnant, a little bit stale.
Well, yeah, and I'm really conscious that I am, and certainly was then and still am now, an outsider, and this is their home, and yeah.
But where are we going to get new ideas from then? Where are we going to get the freshness? Where are we going to get the blood, you could say, that's going to inject into the community, that's going to take us somewhere new?
But it was lovely that when we first launched the boat, a lot of the people that came and joined the club were kind of local to Burghead, and that kind of made us, kind of feel actually, yeah. And now, 5 years on, the boat's been in the water over 5 years, and hopefully, yeah, we're kind of part and parcel of the community, and we join in. The club joins in at various events and things, and we generally have stalls at things, so people know us and recognise us now.
Yeah. And did I see some pictures online of a group of crazy ladies dancing in the ocean?
Yes, you did.
What's that about?
So basically, on the 1st of January of this year, I did the Looney Duke in Hopeman, which I did the previous year as well.
For those not understanding Scots.
Basically, you charge into the sea.
Loony meaning you're crazy,
yes.
and Duke means that you're diving into the water or something like that.
Something like that. And ever since then, I spent the whole of January kept saying, I really should go in again, because you feel so amazing after you've been in the water. And I've got another friend who goes wild swimming in Lossiemouth, and I kept seeing her posts online, and I kept thinking, I should be doing it. And then we were literally sat around a friend's kitchen table a few weeks ago. We'd had a few glasses, and anyway, it came up in conversation, and we decided that we would go on the following Sunday morning. And we're all lying in bed on Sunday morning, WhatsApping each other, going, I really don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So
promise is a promise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I had to go outside, and it was -2, and I had to defrost the car. And I was like, what am I doing? What on earth am I doing as I'm defrosting the car?
Yep.
But yeah, no, we made it. So we've been out about 6 or 7 times now since then. We generally go from West Beach and Hopeman, and we've kind of more said it's more of a strip and dip rather than swimming. Because really, really not that much swimming going on. We kind of charge into the sea, splash around a bit, and then charge
What an
out.
unfortunate title for that activity. Oh my God.
But it's quite accurate.
No,
But yeah, no, the feeling that you get afterwards, like you just feeling like you're totally buzzing, you're zinging, you're really kind of it's the rush of endorphins. So it's my new thing.
Well, no, you don't need to spend a fortune in heroin and cocaine. You just go just go jump in the water. Have the same effect, and it's much healthier for you.
Exactly.
There you go. God gave you everything you need. Right. Stop searching. It's all here. We found it. So, can other people join into these activities? Or
I mean, we're just a group of friends, but you know, if anybody came up to us and said, "Can I join you?" then we'd be like, "Yeah, sure, of course you can." And I know that like this group in Lossie, I think it's the Lossie Codheads. They go regularly. And yeah, I know that they welcome anybody. Because I was going to go with them, and then I thought actually, Hopeman is far closer to home for me, and you know, there's a group of like-minded nutters. So we're just going from there.
I consider myself a person who loves challenges, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to do that. Absolutely none. What is the difference? You know, what is that switch that makes people or somebody go and do that?
For me, I can't really talk about anybody else, but for me, it's just purely a mental challenge. I think I've got so much going on at home and work, and my brain is constantly buzzing, and I've constantly got so much going on that for me, actually, just I zone everything out, and all I'm thinking about is me in that moment going into the water and feeling the water and feeling my body responding to the water and just focusing on that. And it's only for a few minutes because I'm not in the water for very long, but I suppose it's coming to that kind of mindfulness thing, but I'm not quite there yet because a lot of the time I'm yelping and squeaking and swearing. But I'm trying. It's like controlling the breathing and being in the moment. And I was in this morning and I found definitely my tolerance is growing. So I was in the water, I don't know, I don't time it, but I know I was in the water for longer than I ever have been. And I'm trying to focus more on the breathing and just trying to kind of, but it blocks everything out and you're just in that moment. And then you rush out and then everything's just...
Yeah. It reminds me of how sport used to be for me when I was a student. It would just take the pressure off.
Yeah.
Yeah, just doing something different, doing that activity. And for some reason, figures, counts, numbers don't seem to mean much when you're freezing to death in the water. Wow. On a work-related topic, what is it that you enjoy most about the work that you have to do right now?
I really love being able to see the properties, being able to get the properties looking their best.
Yeah.
We've been investing a lot over the last few years into really kind of getting them up to scratch, and then seeing the guests appreciate it and seeing other people appreciate my hard work or our hard work.
What are the hardest parts?
There's tons of hard parts. My heart sinks when you get a phone call at whatever time of night and you know the boiler's broken.
Oh my gosh.
And it's snowing outside, and we've had that. And there's generally it's mainly a boiler. And it doesn't matter how many times you get them serviced and you know everything's up to date, and there'll be something that happens. And you know, you have to deal with it.
Absolutely.
So we've got a big supply of plug-in oil radiators in my garage that I can go out with, and pretty much all the properties have open fires and burners and things. But it's just having to deal with problems, and I get stressed. I get really stressed with that because I work so hard to try and make everything perfect for people, and then when it goes wrong, it's just like and you know, some people have saved up for ages for their one holiday, and you just want it to go right for them.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. And also, I think people need to understand that there are going to be little issues here and there. There always are with businesses. If I take, for example, doing these interviews, there's always a different problem every time. And once you clear up that one, you meet a new challenge.
Yeah.
But that's the way forward. And I think a lot of people sometimes fear progress because that's going to mean a new challenge,
Yeah.
a different challenge. But it's only positive, and you have to face it. You have to go through it. What is something that you've learned recently about running a business that you can share with people? That's a tricky one.
Yes.
What was the last thing that you had to do that was, oh, this is different? Or perhaps that's just like an everyday experience.
I don't know. I was plunging
for
a
you.
toilet, had my arm down a toilet the other day.
It's the stuff that people can't see. That's the stuff that people can't see.
Yeah,
right?
no, I did. I was trying to deal with the blocked toilet and trying not to have to call a plumber out.
Oh yeah, it's these are real problems, right?
They
These
are, and
problems of properties.
despite there being lovely, discreet, polite signs saying please don't put baby wipes down the toilet, they happen, and it's so frustrating because it's a rural area. We're not on mains sewage, it's all septic tanks, and people just ignore your polite requests.
Or they forget, or they're not paying attention, or they're busy with something else, or they do what they would do at home and forget they're not at home.
Yeah.
If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the work that you have to do to make everything easier or better, what would you change?
In an ideal world, an absolute ideal world, I would have somebody else at the end of the phone that customers called that would deal with everything. But I don't want that because then you lose that personal touch. I think if I handed it over to somebody else, I don't know. I know that we need to, at some point, we'll be bringing more people into the business, especially with the Duffus house thing.
If you love what you do, it's hard to pass it on to other people.
Yeah, it is. And because I've kind of worked so hard on it over the last few years. But I know with what we've got coming up that I can't do everything. And already I'm struggling trying to do everything. So,
what's it like on your husband's side of the business? Is he just as busy as you, I imagine?
Essentially he has his own job. He's a rural surveyor.
Right.
So he was Monday to Friday doing that. About 6 months ago, he actually dropped 2 days from his kind of proper job to focus more on the estate and the Duffus house development. But he's crazy busy as well. There'll be drainage issues with ditches, and that's the current thing at the moment. Trying to fit in his normal work, which sometimes forgets that he has actually dropped a couple of days, and that and then estate stuff and Duffus house stuff. So between us we're always super busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Has changing or developing technology affect the way the business runs at all?
It probably should do more than it is.
Okay.
I'm not techie at all, so I kind of do what I have to do. There's probably stuff out there that would make my life easier.
But then it would take time to learn it as well.
Yes. I mean, like I was sort of saying earlier, I'm in the process of sorting out a new website. Yeah. And as part of that, I want to take online bookings ourselves, which I've known for a long time we need to do. But again, because it's a technical thing, I've kind of ignored it for as long as possible, but actually I need to just stop ignoring it and get it sorted. Because again, we need to move forward, and I feel that our current website doesn't do us or the properties justice. It needs to be more professional and more slick. And
do you have a to-do list, or how do you organize
I have lots of to-do lists.
which one?
I started doing the diagrams on a big poster that I put on the wall in front of me.
Okay. How does that work?
Well, I have each property, and then kind of lines coming off from each property with what I actually did find that quite good visual thing just to have up in front of me. So I have the 5 different property names, and then lines coming off them all, and
then things that need to be done and
in each one. But yeah, I constantly have to-do lists. But then I write lists. I've got a notebook for the properties in my bag. I've got my diary. I've got lists of stuff on my desk, and sometimes I just have too many.
What's your vision for your personal work in the future? Or how would you like to change your work so that you feel better about it?
That's tricky, because at the moment, and I look forward to the future, all I can see is the Duffus house development, which is a total. I keep using the word behemoth with regards to Duffus house because.
Okay, talk a little bit about it. What does that entail? What is it changing from, and where's it going?
So essentially, it was this. Well, obviously, historically, the family home. For the last kind of 80 years, it was a boarding house for Gordonston, and then they let go of the lease and moved out 3 years ago. So now we have obviously a big rental gap from that. So instead of the building bringing in money, it's now costing us a lot of money, sat empty every year.
Yeah, and I've seen some pictures of it. Oh, wait a minute. Is that one up on the monitor here?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay. Quite big.
So it's a kind of 15th century kind of tower house with a huge big Victorian extension. So yeah, it's pretty big. So basically we've been working in the background for the last few years on its redevelopment. It would have been easy, and a lot of people keep suggesting, why don't you just turn it into flats? Right. That would be the easy answer, but actually that just didn't sit easy with myself or Ed.
Sometimes what's easiest is not what's best.
Yeah, I think it was just, we need to look at it as an opportunity and go with kind of what feels right in our gut. When we had our first feasibility study done before we moved up back in 2012, since we've been up, we've kind of changed things, and we had the kind of market appraisal and everything updated a couple of years ago, and we've now got our planning permission and building warrant through. So we will have downstairs a cafe, some retail space, and some sort of flexible space. So whether that's kind of private dining or pop-up gallery space, or basically whatever sort of takes our fancy. And upstairs we will have some more self-catering apartments and some B&B rooms as well. So it's quite a huge.
It is. There's a lot of things going on there. Wow. How do you feel about all of that?
Depends what day you ask me on. I can be overwhelmed. Okay. I can be excited. I can be, it's like the whole gamut of emotions comes with something like that.
Do you think that maybe in the future the children might get involved in doing things?
Who knows? I've certainly had them as pot washers at some point in the cafe.
That's a good summer job. There we go.
But it's like, Ed's parents always said to kind of, he's got two sisters as well, and I think it was always expected, although probably never massively verbalized, but it was always an undercurrent that he would have to come up and take over things.
And he was putting it off as long as possible.
He did. Right? I would love not for the kids not to have that pressure. If they wanted to, that's great. But certainly, I think what's really important to both of us is that they go away and they work away and they travel and they get experience. And if they want to come back and take things on, then that's brilliant. I've done loads of traveling and stuff. My husband, not so much, but I took a year off before uni and took a year off after uni, and I've done lots of different things. And I think it's really important that they do that as well. And they see what else is out there, and then they bring something else back with them. Yep.
And maybe in a sense similar to what your husband has done, because he moved away and he's brought you with fresh ideas back in. And, hopefully that injection has been very positive for everybody. It definitely sounds like that. Anyway, well done. Well done. And you just started as well. So I can see that things are going to develop. Yeah. So that's pretty amazing. What's been the greatest challenge for you doing it all?
Greatest challenge.
It's just one challenge to another challenge.
Well, it is. I think, and this is probably more coming from me personally, I don't know. I think it's almost hard to articulate, but when people say, "Oh, what do you do?" and where do you live, and you say the word estate, Duffus estate, and people immediately have assumptions, and I really struggle with that because I used to be one of those people that had assumptions about people that had estates and stuff. And that, you go around wearing lots of tweed and have lots of cash and have battered old Land Rovers and all the rest of it. And that's not my life in the slightest.
I've seen those Johnson's Woolen advertisements. It's not like that?
No, well, certainly we're not like that. I don't think we conform to that stereotype. But I'm very conscious of that. And when we first moved up, and because I'm English, a lot of folk just assumed I was RAF, and it's like, no, I'm not RAF. So yeah, I think now that I'm established, and certainly, I've got my mates and everybody knows us, we're kind of settled in, but I've found that, a bit of a challenge.
It is at first, and I think it might be quite connected to this region as well, that although people are extremely friendly, sometimes they don't know how to deal with new things and new elements when they come into this area.
And certainly the day after we moved up here, and I went into the post office, and they knew who I was before I'd even opened my mouth. And that took a bit of getting used to.
It's the way of life here.
Yeah.
It's the way that people live and have lived for a long period of time.
And I love it now. I love the fact that the kids have grown up in a community like this that is still such a proper community.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it's a great thing that kids here can go out and play and you don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Whereas there are a lot of other parts and places where they can't do that.
Well, that's it. They get so much more freedom to be kids. Which is good.
It's very important. On a personal level, in terms of influence and recommendations, what books should everybody read?
Well, at the moment I'm reading a book that my husband actually bought me for Valentine's Day, bless him.
Oh,
it's just called Taking the Plunge, and it's all about wild swimming.
He knows what you're like.
So yeah, he is very, very thoughtful, bless him. And we don't generally do kind of gifts at Valentine's and stuff, but yeah, he did, bless him. So I'm actually really enjoying that because it's just, obviously, as I've said earlier.
How much can you write about wild swimming?
Well, it's all thinking about how it helps mental health and helps, the whole mindfulness and the whole sort of physiological thing that's going on.
Yep.
So I'm enjoying that. That's good.
Oh. Nice.
It's called Taking the Plunge. It's very good.
Okay. Hey, if you're interested out there, take the plunge and take the plunge. There you go. Time travel is possible. Where would you go and why?
That's so tricky because I'd love to go to so many places at so many different times. I don't know. Almost. That is so hard to pin down, but actually, as I'm just looking at your monitor and looking at the photo of Duffus house, actually, it would have be quite cool to go back in time and see the Dunbar family that was there at some point back in time and how they lived and what they were like, and that'd be quite cool.
Yeah, because we've got this picture in our head of how things were, but the reality is probably slightly different for that.
But that's just one choice out of many. I would love to go into.
But it's a nice one because it ties in with your work and everything that you do. What kind of legacy would you like to leave behind you in connection with your work?
I suppose overall, a business that's been successful is continuing to be successful in whatever form it may be in the future. But I suppose just that people know that I tried my best and worked hard and put my sort of blood, sweat and tears into it. But I suppose everybody wants to be remembered well, I guess.
Well, they do. They do in general. But not everybody leaves something behind.
Yeah.
It's usually those people building the businesses that make a bigger mark on society.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I look back and actually my dad's family, they had their own business that's still going now, although there is still a family member still in it, but that was my great granddad.
Did that give you any experiences that you carried forward?
Probably unconsciously. As a little girl growing up in York, I was always quite proud that when you saw the Oliver's removal van, they had like a removal and furniture business. So I was always dead chuffed when you saw the vans go past. It's like, oh, that's my granddad's name, that is, or great granddad's name. So I suppose, without realising. And then I set up my own sort of pet sitting and dog walking business back down in East Lothian, and then I moved up here and then set up the rowing club, and then kind of, I suppose, without realising it, probably did.
Maybe also give you an eye for good furniture as well.
Yeah, maybe.
if they were involved in that. Your home is on fire. You can only grab one thing. I don't know why I'm laughing. I shouldn't be laughing. It's the wrong thing to do when you're asking a serious question. Do as I say, not as I do. That's it. Your home is on fire. You can only grab one thing as you rush out the door.
I looked at that question and I thought, because obviously you discount like your kids and the pets because hopefully your family and the pets are out.
Yeah, automatically assuming everything live-in is outside.
I suppose up until quite recently, when now obviously all photos are digital and stuff, I would have said photos because I've done all my kind of time traveling and like time at I would have said photos. Probably would say photos, although I actually don't know where they are, most of them anymore. But I don't know. When you realise kind of as you get older, things aren't that much. They don't mean, you think they mean something. Yeah. But we had good friends back in May whose house did burn. And they had to move out for 6 months. And obviously it was really traumatic and they lost everything apart from what they were wearing.
Wow.
And it becomes really clear at that point that nothing is important.
Yeah.
Nothing else is important.
Yeah.
So that kind of came to us, unfortunately, really quite starkly to our friends.
But it's an important realization.
Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. I would like to thank you very much for the time that you've given me today and for sharing a wealth of information about your business and your plans. If people would like more information about Duffus Estate, where can they go?
The website, which is duffusestate.com, and then Facebook and Instagram is just Duffus Estate. You'll find us. It's majority of just kind of work-based stuff, photographs of properties and things, and the occasional one of me doing something silly like flinging myself into the sea.
But it's nice. I recommend that people follow the Instagram account. So once again, thank you very much. I appreciate everything. Wish you great success with business in the future, and I hope that we get a chance to sit down again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Made in Moray is a product of the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching. Book a free online personal or professional development consultation today. What are you waiting for?